Roger Goodell. He never stopped. He never always got something up his sleeve. Just couldn't let us just had this one in the landslide, huh?
So you thought Roger Goodell had turned
he
the
had
lights
a hand
out?
In, most definitely. I thought he had a hand in it.
All of the lights on the 49ers side of the Superdome are out. You can only imagine the scramble officials are going through.
How's it going, guys? I'm KTO, and today we're going to look into one of the biggest conspiracies in NFL history. Roger Goodell's made a lot of questionable decisions in the past, and if this conspiracy is true, it'll make one of the most unique events in NFL history be even more insane. I'm going to give you the evidence so you can decide for yourself. Enjoy. It's almost that time of year. We are nearing the most televised game every single season. A game that pulled over 114 million viewers in 2015. Thinking about the Super Bowl brings me back to 2013, where a certain unusual event occurred. With the two brother head coaches Jim and John Harbaugh playing one another, this created a great storyline headed into the Super Bowl. But after a strong first half, the Ravens created a healthy lead, and on the opening play of the second half, Jacoby Jones took it the distance, seemingly putting the game away with the score of 28-6. It was time to flip the channel, which many did. Then, a few plays later, and after the delay, the 49ers all of a sudden took over, and the momentum swung. They rallied back, rattling off 3 straight scoring drives, bringing it within 5 points. The game went down to the wire, being decided late in the fourth with the Ravens holding on. And right after halftime, when it looked like a blowout, ratings were pretty poor, and people started to flip the channel. Then, the blackout happened, and it was a bit of a scramble by CBS to figure out what to do, but ended up being perfect for the NFL. All of a sudden, ratings skyrocketed in the second half, eventually leading it to be the third most watched event in US history at the time. So this is where things start to become a bit fishy. Did Roger Goodell call for this power outage? To start off, why would Roger Goodell want to do this? Why would he want to take out the power at the Super Bowl? Here are his main motives. 1. Roger Goodell has always been about ratings. Why do you think they have Thursday night games and always have big market teams like the Cowboys playing more often in primetime slots? Because better ratings equals more money. And when a Super Bowl does well, that means TV contracts and commercial deals all become in high demand and more expensive. Essentially, more money in the NFL and Roger Goodell's pocket. The next Super Bowl looks a lot more enticing when the year before had an amazing finish and epic ratings. And this is shown in the past with previous Super Bowls helping the ratings of next year's Super Bowl. Think about it. What will be remembered longer? A blowout victory for the Ravens, or a crazy power outage and amazing comeback by the Niners? And the second motive is pride and image of the NFL. Roger Goodell makes a lot of money every year, and he is the head of the biggest sports league in the United States. With that, he wants to keep a perfect image. The NFL would never want a bad look. That's why you see all sorts of fines, the whole Deflategate situation, and numerous other instances when the NFL wanted to maintain a perfect image. With that comes the pride of being the most watched event every year in the United States, setting record numbers year in and year out. They want everyone to know that they're the most highly anticipated event in the US, if not the world. So now, we go back to the game. This game took place in the Superdome, located in Louisiana, where the New Orleans Saints play. And after Hurricane Katrina, the stadium received a $500 million renovation, which is an insane amount of money. Also, in 2012, the year before the Super Bowl, they ended up spending another $4.2 million on electrical upgrades. Spending this extra $4.2 million was to make sure that nothing bad would happen during the Super Bowl, to stop something like, I don't know, a blackout. So fast forwarding to about a month after the Super Bowl, there was an article published on the NFL's website discussing the blackout. They talked to a forensic engineer that stadium management hired to investigate the problem, with the stadium's energy system being ran by an electrical relay device. The forensic engineer said he believed it to be a malfunction or misoperation of the relay. So either this is a malfunction of the stadium's electrical relay, which the stadium management literally invested $4.2 million the year before to prevent this, or a misoperation. The definition of misoperation says any failure to operate within a specified time when a fault or abnormal condition occurs within a zone of protection. So that's like saying someone accidentally fell over the power line and cut off the power to the stadium. The two reasons that people usually bring up about the power going out, one is that the Super Bowls are using more power than normal, and Beyonce's halftime show could have messed with the power source. But A, they said that this game used the same amount of power as any regular Saints game during the season, so there's that. and B, Beyonce's show was powered by a separate generator, so it wouldn't have messed with the power in the stadium. But seriously, here's really what gets me about all this. When the power outage happens, no one, and I mean no one, freaks out.
In the NFL control room, there was no panic.
Not even in the slightest. It is reported that Roger Goodell was completely calm and didn't leave his seat once. You would think he'd be freaking out at least a little bit, or calling around, trying to figure out what was going on. But no, Roger was relaxed and sitting in his seat just calmly waiting. And after the game, listen to what he said about this whole power situation.
But anyhow, the most important thing is to make sure that people understand it was a fantastic week here. This will not affect the people's view of in the NFL about the success of the game here going forward. I do not think this will have any impact at all on what I think will be remembered as one of the great Super Bowl weeks.
It's as if he's trying to avoid talking about the power problem and focus on making sure everyone remembers how good the image of the league is and how good this game turned out. And if you really understand football, you would know it's a game of momentum. And with the clear momentum in favor of the dominating Ravens, the ratings dropped after halftime. So the power outage sucked the life out of the Ravens and stole their momentum in a sense. And Roger Goodell understands this. And whether or not the Niners would come back, it still gave them a fighting chance and an interesting twist on this whole blackout. This whole situation just makes sense. And the timing of the power outage is almost too coincidental. The Ravens just made a huge play on that kickoff return. And on the final play before the power outage, Colin Kaepernick was sacked, forcing them into a long third down. Honestly, just seeming to be the end of this game. And then when people started to get updates about the power outage, they flipped back to the game just to see what was going on. It was such a freak occurrence. It was just interesting to witness. And after the situation, ratings skyrocketed. And like I said, it ended up being one of the greatest Super Bowls ratings-wise in NFL history. You think Roger Goodell didn't know people would be flipping back to see what exactly happened? You think the man who tried to cover up Spygate and all the domestic issues that the NFL has seen wouldn't try to cover this as well? You heard it from his press conference. He literally avoided speaking on the power outage and talked about the perfect NFL image. Roger Goodell has done plenty of suspicious things in the past, and you can add this one to the list.